only thing is when you become the warrior, you enter into battle. And once again, is that bad? No. There's a lot of learning there, but when you're in battle, there is adversary. When you're in battle, there is competition. So when people go in and fully embrace their warrior energies, there is more competition, there is more catalyst, there is more adversary. This would be like the aspect of exercise when you're breaking down the muscle and you're lifting the weights. Whereas when you're done and you need that rest period to allow the muscle to grow and allow your strength to increase, that's done in the off phase of not lifting, not breaking down the muscle. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Universal Mastery. Welcome back to my public YouTube channel. What exactly is it that we're going to be discussing in this today's video? We're going to be discussing something that I like to call the honorable warrior's death. What exactly does it mean to have an honorable warrior's death, and how does that relate back to the self? Because to some extent throughout all of our growth processes, all of us are going to go through this process of the honorable warrior's death. So this is absolutely something that you want to know a little bit more about to get some more clarity on how you can better navigate this situation when it comes about in your actual life. Okay? If this is something that you are interested in learning a little bit more about, definitely stay tuned, and I will see you on the other side. First start off with introducing myself just in case you do not know who I am. My name is JeremiahJSchwartz. I am a professional occultist. I'm initiated in the Kabbalistic tree. I'm studied when it comes to the 22 major arcana of the tarot deck. I'm studied with planetary energies, and I'm also very aware of trauma and its relationship to the nervous system. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this. So we are talking about the honorable warrior's death. What exactly does this even mean? What does it mean for the warrior to go to death, but in an honorable way? And once again, how does this relate back to the self? Okay, well, the first thing that we really need to understand is that inside of all of us, we all have a part of ourself that is more of a warrior or more of a protector. Now, the nature of how this part usually comes into play is through certain types of experiences that we've been through in the past that have generally been things that were traumatizing. Now, the reason why a lot of us have warrior archetypes inside of our psyche, and oftentimes one of the reasons why we can identify with this archetype is because we are actually still in many ways protecting ourselves and fighting something that actually is rooted in the deep past of our history. So in other words, we have this part of ourselves that almost still thinks it's in battle, that almost still thinks, maybe we had an abuser that was in the past for us, and we still think that that abuser is active in our life, or we think that we're, under threat to some extent. Now this, as I'm making this video, this isn't to say that you're not being abused. It's not to say that you're not in a threatening type of circumstance, but I'm just saying that for a lot of us, we have this inner warrior that is on alert, and sometimes we identify with this part of ourself and we're always on alert, okay? So this is not a bad thing, and to have an inner warrior is not a bad thing. This is a good thing. This inner warrior has helped you to probably create many different things in your life and helped you survive probably many situations that you've also been through in your life that were really tough situations. I mean, think of the nature of what a warrior is. A warrior fights in battle to conquer, to overcome, to protect, okay? So there's nothing wrong with this, and there's nothing bad about this, but there is a lot of room for us to sort of get out of balance when we are in a state where we are being a warrior, but we're actually in a situation where we don't need to be a warrior, where we need to be calm, or we can just let go and we can just relax. Okay? So it's very common for us to have this warrior archetype inside of our being that is a little bit extra stimulated or a little bit more activated inside of us. We could also call this a protector energy. And one of the really important things that actually needs to happen through the self-development process of the person who is experiencing this and is once again on the path of self-development. So if you're someone who is making a conscious effort to, introspect, self-reflect and understand, what are the different mechanisms of your own behavior, your emotional states, how you're interacting with the world around you, you will eventually come to a point where you actually face this inner warrior of your own psychology, or this inner warrior that is a part of who and what you are. Now, when I say that you will face this energy, what I really mean is you will come to a conscious recognition that this energy is probably driving the ship within your psyche, within your nervous system. So when you become aware that a protector energy or a protective energy or a warrior energy is sort of governing your decision making, governing your thought process, governing your emotional states, this is very powerful because now you're in a position as the central self observing this warrior archetype that is a part of who you are. But to the complete contrast or to the complete opposite of this warrior energy that we have inside of us, there is a vulnerable energy. There is a more feminine oriented, letting go, trusting the process, more in the present moment type of energy to contrast that warrior. So, in other words, on the other side of the warrior, we have like this little innocent vulnerability inside of us as well. Now, for us to be whole beings, it's important for us to have a balance between our warrior energies, our conquering energies, our protective energies, as well as our vulnerable energies, our letting go energies, our feeling energies, our trusting the process energies. All right. So, what does it mean to go through the honorable warrior's death? Well, as I was saying earlier, what will end up happening on the person's journey who is going through this, this path of self-development is they will start to understand their own warrior. They will start to understand their own protector. And oftentimes, the way that we get to understand it is by observing it really coming through our system, observing this protector energy really taking the front seat, really driving the show for a period of time so we can kind of observe it from the central self to see how does this energy function in my body and potentially what is the opposite aspect of this very energy that I'm experiencing in that warrior. So what would the vulnerable part look like? What could that be like? Now, to go through the honorable death is to embrace the warrior energy to such an extent that you are fighting in battle. So, in other words, what this can look like is, when you're taking on your warrior energy, your protector energy, once again, that energy is there to protect. It is there to keep you safe in many respects. So when you look out into your everyday life, you may be in an energy where you are protecting yourself and you are doing things that are keeping you safe, which are, once again, good things. There's nothing wrong with that. And you may also notice certain things that happen when you're in that energy as well. So when you're more in a warrior-like energy, this could be energy of trying to conquer things, trying to compete, trying to overcome, trying to accomplish. Um, and things in that nature. And everyone's warrior can look a little bit different too. And we have different warriors inside of us as well. Like I may have one warrior aspect that does this, and I may have another warrior aspect that does this, right? Just to give you some extra clarity on how nuanced this stuff can really get. But um, you may notice that when you're in your warrior energy, the world kind of responds to you in a different way than as if you were more in a central state or in more of a authentic state within the whole self that is the mediator between all of you, all of your different parts. Because remember, the whole self, the true self, exists in between the warrior and the vulnerabilities. So this would be a state where you can access the warrior, but you also know how to access that vulnerability at the same time. But most of us don't have that full awareness or understanding of who we actually are and what is our true self. And a lot of it does have to do with unresolved traumas in the past that are kind of keeping us in more of a defensive warrior like state because we are thinking there are threats in our environment that actually may not even be there. So it's only until we go back and we start resolving some of that trauma and we start processing some of those repressed negative emotions where we start to realize, wait a minute, I'm creating all this craziness in my life. I'm creating all this competition. I'm creating all this adversary. I'm creating the battlefield that I'm entering into as the warrior. And the reason I'm creating that is because I'm choosing to be the warrior because I feel like there are threats. I feel like I'm not safe. But the only thing is when you become the warrior, you enter into battle. And once again, is that bad? No. There's a lot of learning there, but when you're in battle, there is adversary. When you're in battle, there is competition. So when people go in and fully embrace their warrior energies, there is more competition, there is more catalyst, there is more adversary. This would be like the aspect of exercise when you're breaking down the muscle and you're lifting the weights. Whereas when you're done and you need that rest period to allow the muscle to grow and allow your strength to increase, that's done in the off phase of not lifting, not breaking down the muscle. So we can even see, with how the biology functions, the difference between this masculine warrior archetype within the psyche, warrior energy, we could say protector energy, compared to the more vulnerable states that are a little bit more feminine oriented. Okay? So the honorable warrior's death is something that every single person who is developing themselves has to go through and has to build a relationship with within themselves. By embodying the inner warrior inside of you, you can allow that energy to really do what it does. And you can express it to a pretty extreme degree in your life by I guess the word is you could ride that wave of the warrior, right? So if you're feeling that energy, you can embody that and you can push those boundaries. You can embrace it. You can be it. You can let it come out the way that it naturally is wanting to, or the way that it's naturally needing to come out. And you can ride that wave. And as you're allowing this to happen, you are understanding this is who my warrior is. This is one aspect, or this is one part of my warrior energy, which means as I'm letting this energy through, I'm starting to understand more about this part of me. And the more I understand this part of me, the more I realize this is a part of me and not the whole me necessarily, the more I can create a little bit of a separation between this warrior that exists in me, as well as the central self, and then the vulnerability that exists within me as well, to the complete opposite of the warrior. And that's a really healthy space to be. But in order for us to really, oftentimes I should say, in order for us to really get to that central space, we actually have to be the warrior. We have to completely protect ourselves and completely create that sense of safety that we know we can. We have to compete. We have to conquer. We have to overcome. We have to accomplish. We have to do these things that allows this warrior within us to feel like it is being embraced and being expressed, only though in the long run to then be met with an honorable warrior's death. Now, why does this happen? It's because in that protector warrior energy, as we allow that to come through and we embody it and we embrace it and we're observing it as it's happening, there is an end date to when you will run out of energy to be able to keep being that warrior. So you can imagine being the warrior all the time, being in the battlefield all the time is extremely taxing on your entire system. It's taxing on your mental, taxing on your emotional body, taxing on your nervous system. So there's a time frame when you can't keep doing that and you have to allow yourself to surrender and you have to allow yourself to rest. You have to take some time to say, you know what? I'm going to stop fighting right now. Now, in reverse, there are people that are afraid to embrace their warriors. There are people that are afraid to step into their warrior energy because they're afraid of judgment. They're afraid of what this person might think of them. They're afraid of what that person might say. Maybe in their past, they tried to defend themselves with their own warrior energy, and then someone made them feel bad for it, or someone abused them for doing that. And then they interpret their own inner warrior as being something not good or being something bad, or if they do, they're going to get abused. And there are people that don't allow this energy to express. And because of that, they're going to have a lack of understanding of this part of themselves. And that is a form of neglecting yourself because that's a part of you. That protector energy is a part of you, and it is valuable. In moderation, in balance, it is very valuable within the system. It helps to create boundaries. It helps you to assert yourself. It helps you to know your own individuality compared to other people. Okay, it helps you to accomplish things, push through barriers, and push through adversary. So it does go both ways. But when we do embrace the warrior, it's a very possessive energy. I mean, the inner warrior, the inner protector is very possessive in the sense that it's easy to grab onto. It's easy to start to self-identify with the inner warrior and think that's who you are while neglecting or trying to suppress the more vulnerable feminine parts of yourself. So this is where the spiritual journey comes into play, and then going through that honorable warrior's death, which is something that I've personally gone through many times before. I have seen other people go through this in their process, and it is a very important process that I don't really hear too many people talking about, which is why I decided I was going to make this YouTube video today, because I think it's an important video to talk about. So to know your warrior is to accept your warrior first, to allow your warrior to come through, to give it that space to express so that you can come to build more of a relationship with this part of yourself. And oftentimes letting that energy completely come out the way that it needs to, um, you know, in the beginning stages, it can seem to come out in a little bit of an unbalanced way where, as I said, we tend to kind of over-identify with our warriors. And when that over-identification happens with this part of us, once again, we are now not coming from the central space. We're coming from a part of us that is more defensive, that is a little bit more on guard, is a little bit more closed off, a little bit more rigid, honestly. Now, letting that come through though, and giving it that acceptance to completely push that through and come to know your warrior, there will come the time when the warrior energy cannot be maintained. Meaning you will express so much of that energy to the point where you get into competitions, you get into some form of catalyst or some form of adversary. It's going to be like a go, go, go until you kind of reach a point where your nervous system basically slows itself back down and burns out and says, hey, you need to find your balance now. You've been a warrior for this period of time and you've been really pushing it. Now we need to shift you to the other end of the spectrum. And remember, that's the difference between the warrior parts of us and those vulnerable parts that these warriors are actually protecting inside of ourselves, right? All within our own ecosystem of existence, of personal human existence. We all experience this. So the honorable warrior's death is to know your warrior is coming through, to allow it to come through, and then to allow yourself to go through the death process, where the warrior realizes at a certain point from being in battle that this battle is never going to end. And it is just going to be an ongoing sequence of fighting and conflict that is just going to keep manifesting over and over and over again. So at that point, the warrior says, you know what? I'm going to choose the honorable path and I'm going to surrender my life. I'm going to sit here and allow my life to be taken because I know that there is a different state of being that I can get into, that I can experience, where I am not always in conflict or I'm not always having to fight off different adversaries and things in that nature. So the honorable warrior's death is that knowing of this process that I'm talking about within the self, knowing your warrior's coming through, but also knowing there's a death process that warrior will go through as well that will then inherently lead you to more of those vulnerable parts of you. So the warrior goes to battle, fights the adversary, overcomes many enemies, if you will, to the point where the warrior realizes once again it's never going to end. There's only going to be an endless supply of enemies, an endless supply of warfare, and then the warrior realizes the deeper wisdom of the circumstance and says, you know what? I'm ready to die to this part of myself, or I'm ready to die thinking this is who I am and this is where I get my worth. There is more to this life experience. There is more to who I am. So I'm going to surrender myself and I'm going to actually start doing the most courageous act and going into those more vulnerable parts of the self that are extremely, uncomfortable to go into because of the nature of repressed emotions and trauma, right? Because those are the parts of yourself that are still, in many ways, kind of frozen in time in the past that are still carrying a lot of those emotional wounds from the past as well. So, a lot of that fear, a lot of that sadness, a lot of that um, depression, loneliness, abandonment wounds, all that kind of stuff is there. And that is the real courageous thing to do. That's what a real warrior would actually do. Real warriors understand the external battle, but understand the internal battle is really what is the most valuable and important thing to experience. And through that, through the internal processing, there comes the higher degrees of wisdom where you realize it's not even a battle. There is no battle. It's just a process of healing. It's an unconditionally loving process of self-development and integration. Okay? So this is what it looks like. Okay, this is the video that I really wanted to release today because I feel like a lot of you may be experiencing this energy. I know there's different seasons and different cycles where I experience this energy, and I feel like it's really important to actually understand what's going on in your system because that part of yourself, that warrior part is valuable and it's very powerful and you can use it. And it's important that you develop a relationship with it, but it's also important that you understand who you are in the center of this. And you also understand that to the contrast of your own warrior energy, there is a vulnerable energy that's probably very opposite to this warrior inside of you. So just know that you are the host, or excuse me, you are the central being amongst all of these different parts of you. And to be truly integrated, it's important to build relationships with these different parts of you. So you might have a vulnerable part of you that doesn't want you to go to war or doesn't want you to try to compete with other people. And to allow yourself to build that relationship with that part of you, it's going to be important that you allow that energy to come through from the central space and say, you know what, maybe I'm not going to compete right now. I'm feeling like I shouldn't be competing in this circumstance. I can feel the warrior part of me might want to, but I also feel this vulnerable part of me is a little bit more influential right now, and I'm feeling like I shouldn't compete. You know what? I'm going to trust that feeling. I'm going to trust my intuition. I'm going to trust my body sensations, and I'm just going to let it go. I'm just going to be, and I'm going to see what comes out of this, right? That would be an example of coming from the central space and being able to honor your different parts of you. Okay, in this case, this was the more vulnerable part. Whereas in other circumstances, maybe your warrior is a little bit more strong and it's a little bit more protective. Maybe something happened that kind of triggered you and it's making you think you're in the past again. And then that warrior comes online. It's like you get to work with it and you get to, okay, you're here. I understand. I appreciate you're here to try to protect me. What is it that you want me to know? And you can kind of develop a little bit of that communication with your own inner warrior. And it may say, hey, I just want to be here for a little bit of time. Can you embrace my energy for a bit? And you get to make that decision. Yeah, I think that's okay. I can embrace you. If that means, I need to go to the gym more, maybe I'm a little bit more competitive, maybe the way that I speak is a little bit more authoritative and it comes out a little bit quicker. These would be examples of, honoring these different parts of the system. But as I was saying, the whole gist of this video today is to show you that the warrior does go through an honorable death because most people are over identified with their inner protectors, their inner warriors. And that can absolutely be at the detriment of those people's lives and of their health because the warriors are protective. They are more shelled. Okay, they're here to protect you. So you got to make sure you're aware that if you're over identified with this part of you and you're starting to think that is all of you, then you're setting yourself up in a position where there's a lot of room for stagnation on an energetic level. You know, there's a lot of room for you to not be able to be who you truly are and feel what you're truly feeling and connecting to life in a way that actually feels authentic or feels satisfying. So that's why when we get into this spiritual self-development side of things, it's like once you kind of open up those doorways, I mean, in many respects, there's no turning back. And that's why you will eventually go through the honorable warrior's death, where your warrior may get overly amplified from doing the work, from doing your occult initiations or doing certain types of spiritual practices and different things of that nature, only to realize that you can be the best warrior in the world. But even then, the battle never ends. The battle never stops. And that's where you get the wisdom. That's where you get the understanding that you're about to die. Your inner protector, your inner warrior that you were identified with is going to go through an honorable death to now embrace the other aspect of what that warrior was protecting. And that is where you go through a significant level and go down into those deeper layers of your self-development and your healing process and your integration process. This is where you actually start to heal those past wounds to then kind of get you to a place in your life where you are no longer getting triggered super like unconsciously or subconsciously to be in your warrior energy when you're in a safe place, when you're in a safe environment, when you're with safe people. Okay, so it's a gradual process and it takes time, and through time there is refinement, and there's nothing wrong with, once again, the inner warriors. There's nothing wrong with getting triggered. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having vulnerable parts of ourselves. It's just all a part of this big process that we've agreed to come into to learn more about, to understand who we actually are, who is our true self, and what are we here doing, and things in that nature. So with that being said, this is going to wrap it up. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up button. Okay, let me know. Drop down in the comment section. Let me know if there was anything specifically that you learned from this video. I would also like to know if you're resonating with what it is that I'm talking about, because I want to hear exactly what it is that you're in resonance with so that I can better understand you as the viewer of the video. Now, go ahead and hit the notification bell. Make sure you're getting notified whenever I'm posting these videos, because clearly this is very valuable content that you're not coming across often on YouTube. So make sure you're getting notified, because I leave videos like exactly when people need to hear them. Okay, I just have that gift. Subscribe to my channel. Okay, by subscribing, you are further energetically connecting to everything that I'm teaching. So if you want to take advantage of that deeper energetic resonance and connection to what I'm offering, definitely take advantage of that. All right. Now I'm going to say this: copy and paste the link to this video and send it to someone that you feel like needs to hear this. If someone just came to your mind right when I said that, that is the person that you need to send this video to. Do them that favor. Now I'm going to take your awareness to the most important link within the YouTube description itself. This is my Patreon. Now on my Patreon, I have over 260 exclusive videos. None of it is on my public YouTube channel, and that is intentional. The stuff that you're going to find over on the Patreon is absolutely more advanced, very deep occult knowledge, deep occult practices that I'm performing on video and teaching you how to do, education on trauma, creating a healthy foundation, regulating your nervous system. So much valuable content and information and knowledge is over on the Patreon, which I highly recommend you look into. Okay. Then as you go from tier number 3 into tier number 4, you are gaining access to a ritual service that I offer to my collective, which is the only ritual service that I offer as a whole. Okay, this is called the Universe B Vampire Service. Now, first thing first, this isn't for everyone. This is a ritual service that is going to be for people that are more in resonance with the darker aspects of spiritual evolution. So people that are more in resonance with the left-hand path, this is going to be the service that is for you. So if you're in resonance with it, definitely consider this. What this is this is a complete energetic transfer from me as the initiated occultist to you as the receiving participant, to be able to have my support on an energetic level to help guide you and help you navigate your own deep subconscious and unconscious mind in regards to your own self-development journey. Okay. Now, what I'm also doing is I'm doing some pretty significant changes to the energetic structure of the participant as well, where I'm changing the energetic spin on the energy body to move more so in a counterclockwise direction, which actually puts these participants in deeper resonance with some of the more demonic aspects of the universe itself and with black holes in space. Now, what this does is this starts to create some of that vampiric uh, it starts to create some of those vampiric qualities where energy starts getting pulled in. And what we specifically are able to pull in is energies that we would consider darker energies and energies that we could consider as chaos, like primordial chaos. We can take that energy, bring it into our bodies, integrate it, transmute it, and turn it into power and evolutionary potential. Now, on a practical level, the way that this looks is you can literally pull the energy out of someone's ego or out of someone's false self, I should say, and you can take that, all that charged up energy, and you can integrate that into your own energy yourself, and then leave that person in a space where they now have to face and process some of the repressed emotions they have so that they can get in tune with their authenticity while you gain energy in the process. So it's a win-win circumstance there. And this is clearly a very taboo form of spirituality as well as occultism, but it is very powerful. I'm a direct testament to that. And there are a lot of people that are starting to take advantage of it that have the ability to go through this degree of self-development because it's not for everyone and it's not an easy process to turn yourself into a real universe be vampire. But once again, this ritual service that I'm offering initiates that process. It sets that process in place. Okay, a very powerful service. Once again, tier 3 and 4 is where you gain access to it. There are well over 200 active participants that are taking advantage of this service. Well over 200. At this point, there's over 550 members on my Patreon as a whole, and it is continuing to grow. It's continuing to thrive. So if this is something you want to look into, it is the first link in that description. Definitely check it out. Okay, we'll leave it there. Second link is where you can book a one-on-one call with me or a mentorship. Okay, the mentorships is going to be one of the most intimate ways to work with me. We're going to work one-on-one, help you create your foundation, help you to identify some of the repressed emotions that are in your nervous system so that we can start processing them. And once we kind of get that foundation locked in, then we can start transitioning into some of the more deeper occult practices that could revolve around Qlippothic initiation and things in that nature. So if that is something you want to take advantage of, that is all within that second link below as well. So definitely check it out if you're interested. Now, in the same second link below, you can book a tarot card reading with Alexia. She is a really gifted tarot card reader. She's done my own reading personally, and it was absolutely right on point. Everything that she broke down in that reading was very in resonance with what I was experiencing. She does near past, present moment, and then what's going on in your future. So if you want to get a clear understanding of where you are now and where you're headed, and having it, having this clarity through the tarot cards, definitely get this reading with Alexia. And I got to say this as well, she is informed when it comes to Kabbalah. So I personally got on a couple calls with her and I helped her to understand and I helped educate her on the Kabbalistic connections to the tarot cards themselves based on the spheres and the different archetypes. So if this is something that you feel like you want to learn a little bit more about and you want to go deeper into, second link below is also where you can book this reading with Alexia. Check it out. Third link below is a LUCIFERS Foundation course. This is a very powerful, influential course. If you are looking to develop a healthy, strong relationship with Lucifer, this course has everything you need to develop that with its foundation. So this is going to give you a lot of very important things to know about when it comes to working with the occult in general, but specifically building this relationship with Lucifer. Subconscious reprogramming, guided meditations, more education on trauma and shadow work, setting up your ritual space, setting up your altar, creating a contract with Lucifer, where everything is headed in the long run. Okay, definitely check it out. This is the third link in that description. There's a lot of people that have already placed their order for this course, which means a lot of people have the course right now, and people are just continuing to purchase it every single day. Okay, so definitely, if you're interested, check it out. If you also have a friend that you feel like would gain value from that, send it to them as well. Fourth link is my YouTube memberships. I would love to have you in the YouTube memberships. It's always fun to see familiar faces and to have a group of just like-minded individuals that can all come together and speak about certain, occult topics and just different things in that nature. There's a bunch of different benefits you gain access to within the YouTube memberships. I'll definitely let you look into that a little bit more on your end. So definitely consider it. It is the fourth link below. Become a YouTube member, get special shout outs, get exclusive things, and I would love to have you there. Okay. Fifth link below. This is my absolutely most recommended book recommendations for you. If you are looking for books to purchase and you're looking to study more on Kabbalah, the spirits, the 72 angels, 72 demons, the 22 tunnels of Set, the 22 major arcana pathways of the Tree of Life. This is the exact book recommendations that I have for you. This is something that me and Nick worked on together, and we compiled all this very valuable information, which is high-level occult knowledge in one place, but it's broken down in a way that is extremely understandable and extremely digestible for the new age of occultism, where people are no longer needing to kind of read between the lines or read the riddles, but rather let's just get it right in front of your face, and let's also make it easy for you to access so that you don't have to have this $500 book and then that $700 book and then read between both of them to try to understand some of these things. It's all in front of you. 4 ebook package bundles, 4 different books in one package, and it's everything you need to know in a practical way. This is only $128, so that is absolutely nothing for everything that's offered. If you end up making your purchase, all that I ask of you is that you also recommend the link for it to a friend as well. Okay, once again, a lot of people have made their purchases already. People are continuing to buy this every single day. If you're interested, check it out. That is the 5th link in this YouTube description. All right. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to wrap it up for today. I hope you all have an amazing rest of the day or night, wherever you are, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.